Every season there are new changes to the Premier League rules. This season is no different. Some of them are needed, some of them not so much. Welcome to Footy Explained by Ball Gecko. Let's help you make sense of it. And let's get straight into it. The first rule, it is the rule about the offside and the use of thicker lines. What happened last season was that we saw a lot of times where players were ruled offside for very tiny margins. That's not going to happen this season because the Premier League has decided that they will start using thicker lines to judge whether a player was onside or offside. What this means is that all those close calls, about 20 goals if you ask Mike Riley, are now going to be ruled onside instead of offside. This is going to allow forwards to play with more freedom and more purpose going forward. The rule has been brought about to bring back the benefit of the doubt for attackers rather than for the defenders, and it's going to help a lot with, for example, your FPL. You can cap your strikers now with more confidence, knowing that there's a less chance that they'll be ruled offside this season than last season. And also, in addition to this, we will not be allowed to see the lines this season compared to last season. So all the debates that happened on social media and on other platforms, even on screen, might not be there to take place, because if there are no lines, then you can't really say the lines were wrong in the first place. And so the second new rule, it has to do with something that people are probably very passionate about. It's contact in the box and whether the contact is going to be awarded as a penalty or not. Prior to now, virtually every contact in the box was awarded as a penalty, and players used that to their advantage. We saw players feign contact, we saw players take advantage of any slight contact to go down in the box. That's not going to be able to happen this season because the Premier League has said that the referees need to judge astutely whether the contact has been enough to warrant a penalty. We've already seen some situations like Folarin Balogun of Arsenal. He got tackled in the box in the game against Brentford, but there was no penalty awarded, and according to the new rules, that was actually the right call. The contact has to be, first of all, intentional, and then it has to be enough for the player to have gone down. What this means essentially is that players are now at the mercies of referees. Even if they get contact in the box, it has to be down to the referee to decide if that contact was enough or not enough to give a penalty. And the problem with this is that referees in their discretion are by nature inconsistent. Where we see a case of a penalty being given for one situation, penalty might not be given for that exact same situation if the referee is different. This might cause some problems and more drama, but hey, we're all here for it. And now for the third rule, the very contentious handball rule. What used to happen in the past was that players knew what an unnatural position was. It was definitive, it was certain. If your hands were like this or like this, it was an unnatural position regardless of what was happening before or after the action, or even during the said action as well. But right now, the Premier League has said no, none of that. We're going to leave it at the discretion of the referees again. Yes, discretion of the referees again. Now they have to judge whether the player's arms or the position of the player's arms are a consequence of or are justifiable by the action sequence. Meaning that if a player, for example, is falling down and his arm touches the ball, they now understand that this was definitely because the player had to support himself or block his face from the ball hitting his face, and those situations would not be ruled as being handballs anymore. Now what this means is that every decision is going to be left in the hands of the referee to decide if the player was actually intentionally trying to play the ball or the player's hands are just as a result of what was happening in that instance. It seems like a rule that is going to bring even more confusion to the game and is also going to bring probably less penalties as well. And because the Premier League was not satisfied with one confusing handball rule, they decided to add another. The accidental handball rule for attackers has also been modified slightly from last season. Last season, every accidental handball leading up to a goal in the build-up or as a direct consequence of the handball was to be ruled out. But this season, first of all, referees are now going to have to decide what is in fact accidental, and second of all, it now limits it to only actions that are directly resulting in a goal. Meaning that if a player accidentally handles the ball and then gives off a pass that leads further down the line to a goal, 2 passes at most, a pass that does not directly result in an assist, the goal will be allowed to stand. While a pass that directly results in an assist or directly results in a goal that was done with the hand or that was as a consequence of gaining control with the arm would not be allowed to stand. Now this means that referees have two jobs, not just one. First, they have to decide if the handball was indeed accidental, and second of all, they have to decide how far away from the goal it was, or how much of a direct consequence the handball was to the goal. More confusion, more debates, more drama. Premier League. For more of this and more informative, educative, entertaining content, you can check out ballgecko.com or follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. If you have topics that you would like us to talk about or break down for you, you can just drop a comment and we'll get right to it. This has been Footy Explained by Ballgecko. My name is Ayola Kelechi.